The audience is yours.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Paula Perry. I'm the founder of an organisation called You For Us. I'm an author of a book called Black British History. I'm a lecturer. I teach Black history to Key Stage 3 children. And I also am a speaker. I do a lot of speaking in different countries. Anytime I travel the world, I make it a point to go to local schools to encourage children that their environment does not dictate their future and they are able to achieve once they put their mind to it. So I'm here today to just give you a little bit of talk about what I do. And I'm doing a lot of work right now around parenting. And I'm a mother of two adult children, two adult daughters. My eldest daughter is 24, my youngest is 19. So it's through that experience and how I've influenced them why I know it's very crucial of the development of our children in their early development years. There's a lot of studies and a lot of statistics around how important early development is with children. Because by the time a child's by the age of 9, they practically have formed their characters of who they are in terms of what they've been exposed to. And we're living in a digital age right now that a lot of the time the young children are unsupervised in what they are accessing via the internet or via their mobile phones. Most children have smartphones right now. My eldest daughter didn't have a phone till she was 16. A lot of her younger cousins at the time all had smartphones where she used to be embarrassed, but I had to be the parent in that time and said, this is the reason why you haven't got a phone, because you go to school and come home. So you don't need a phone. But those little things, I know things are changing now, but it's very important for us to be very aware that our children are exposed to a lot of things via the phones, via the social medias, and that's quite a crucial thing. A lot of the studies as well, and what I teach in some of my classes, that a lot of us think of abuse sometimes as sexual or physical, but emotional and development abuse that some young children are exposed to. And we may have things ourselves experienced that may not be seen as abuse, but they are, the way we talk to young people sometimes. I remember my mum used to call me big teeth when I was young. Now, maybe she didn't mean it in any way because I had buck teeth. But now I laugh, and I still laugh in my 40s with my hands over my mouth. So obviously something psychological has gone on with those things. So it's very crucial as well for us to be mindful how we're speaking to our children from a young age. Some of them, we call them, you know, you're stupid, or you're just like your father. You know, certain little things are said that we think of it unconsciously. But these things are impacting our children for a young age and can cause them down roads that we may not want them to go in because of their self-belief, because of how they feel, or because, you know, sometimes with boys we might say you're too soft or you're soft, and that makes them want to toughen up in other negative ways. The lady at the back asked about Caribbean history. I just want to show you that this book that I've authored, I don't know if anybody's seen it, I'm one of the 4 of the authors of this book. It's called Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture from 1948 to 2016. Now, this book is a family book. It has 32 lessons within this book. And each lesson has texts, sources, and activity questions. So it starts from the arrival of the SS Empire Windrush in 1948, and it explains how important black people have been within this country. So it goes for a lot of the music genres and how black music have influenced subcultures. So I don't know if anyone's aware of the mods, how the mods were heavily influenced by ska music. The way they dressed with a suit and tie was a direct imitation of the Jamaican rude boy style at the time. So this book is available. It has a picture appendix and very good for the home also. What else did you want to ask me for me to go on to? Right, okay. I'll just talk slightly about the financial element that I do within my business. I I deliver financial seminars because I've realized that in a lot of, within our community, we're not taught about finances from a childhood. And it has left many of us to maybe struggle from month to month, or we're living payday to payday. And it's not sometimes that we haven't got the money, it's the structure of what we're spending our money. What is priorities? What are we doing that where we say we haven't got any money, but we do have money to do other luxury item things? And that's kind of awareness that I want to bring around. And it's not that we shouldn't have nice things, but it's the priorities that we do it in. So a lot of the time, children may not be able to have extra activities because we say we haven't got enough money. But if we was to look at our finances and how we spend it, could we cut back on maybe going to the beauty parlor every week? Could we cut back from going out with friends at the end of the month? Just little things that we can adapt in our own lifestyles in order to provide opportunities for our younger children to have access to opportunities. Maybe they need extra tuition in schools. That money that we can sacrifice from our own well-being, well, not fully well-being, you understand what I mean, because we need our self-well-being, but those things that we can sacrifice in order to give our children those extra opportunities that they may need.
Slightly for a second.
Right, okay.
And you're talking about early childhood.
Yes.
Right, which is so crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that what is happening now, and I need to make this very clear, and I always make this very clear, that it's a minority of boys who are creating the problem, isn't it?
It is. Well, I've got direct experience. Last year, October, my nephew was killed in Croydon. Now, my nephew wasn't, it was he passing by and had to get caught up in something that was nothing to do with him. And attending the court case was quite sad, because some of the young boys that went up and spoke, and you know, the perpetrators and stuff, if you hear about their life, their child, this is why I go back to early development, because when you're hearing about what they've been through from young till now, it's horrifying. There's been no parental love. There's been no parental, some of them in attention. So that's quite crucial, and I've got direct experience. It's still hard for us right now. It's only the other day. My children suffer right now because they were very close. So where we say the minority, again, I would want it to add in a bit of identity in terms of who are we as black people? Where do we come from? Do we realize that we've come from powerful ancient times, empires? A lot of us are not aware of that. And when you start being aware of where you are coming from, as I know most of us may be a Caribbean in the room, but Africans before we came to the Caribbeans, we're powerful people. We've come from rich empires before any European touched the African continent. I don't know if anyone's aware of Mansa Musa. He's still the richest man upon this earth up until this day. He's a Malian emperor. So it's things like that. And this is what I teach, African history. So I see when I'm teaching young children the elevation that they see when they start realizing, whoa, we created this, we had that. The boats that we created, architecture that we had. Castles are not European things. Castles are African things. these were built in ancient times. So I get to see firsthand when people, even I teach adults as well in lectures under my mentor, Robin Walker. He's a historian and a scholar. He's written many books. When We Ruled is one of them. And I see firsthand when a young child starts getting to lesson 5, lesson 6, and they're back standing tall thinking, wow, this is me. This is my people's done this. So it's very important for me teaching. And we can't leave everything to the schools, people. Schools is a limited thing, and a lot of us sometimes leave things to the school, and it's important that we are also connected with the school. If you see, like, behavior may be changing, it's important that we as parents go and say, my children's kids, when my daughters were in school, I used to say, if there's any playing up, you call me. And I will be there with her sitting down straight away. And straight away, behavior fixes up. But they need to know that they're able to have that. Sometimes, unfortunately, we do go up there, oh, my son, oh, my daughter, and that's not the way to do things. But that's why sometimes the teachers will not, they kind of dismiss our kids. Because they know if they do call, then there's another argument coming back. So I know I'm going from back to forth there, but back to identity. Yes, it's important. That our children from a young age, and we can't leave it to the school, we need to be installing these things. And if we don't know it, we need to pick up books and learn ourselves. So the same way we say to our kids, go read a book, does your child ever see you reading a book? So we need to be emulating what we want our children to emulate. We need to be who we want our children to be. I think it was the barrister who was up here earlier, and he was talking about sometimes there may be, the parents may not get along, and there may be parents are not together, but under no circumstances should that be an excuse that we don't allow either parent, or mainly the fathers, to have access to their sons' or daughters' lives. It's vital. It's vital that the male's role in their son or daughter's life. Now, I understand if they were, if they're not no harm to the child, physical harm, then there shouldn't be no reason they should not have access to the child because of adults' issues. So, yeah, sorry, I could go on forever, I know you want to enjoy the sun as well.
No, I think they're enjoying the sunshine coming through what you're saying. Any questions anyone want to ask Paula before she goes back to her selling all these books and giving us a 7? That's not working.
Hello. You actually mentioned something very, very, very important. Be careful what you call your child. Yes. Even if it's in jest. Yes. The child, hold on to it for a long time. I remember when I was young going to school, I got a very good friend I used to go to school with. Very, very, up until now, very good friend. And we saved a lot of money and we bought the first one of sort of Bob Marley albums. This is probably in the 70s, 75, 76, 77, around that time. And we went back to his house, right? And as kids, you put on his mum wig and we pretend to be Bob Marley singing. His dad walked in and said to him, you're going to grow up to be a dirty rasta like Bob Marley. And up until this day, my friend always repeat that. Right? Yeah. Now he's a very, very big contractor, I was a contractor, etc. Turned out really, really good. But he'd never forgiven father for saying that. Yeah. And all we were doing was playing, because in them days Bob Marley wasn't as the in thing as it is now. Yeah. Right? And his dad said that to him, and he'd never forgive his dad to say that to him. So we need to be careful. Definitely. Even if we say in jest, or you look so and so, whatever, the child remember that. So we need to be. And very, very important, you like to bring up that point. Yeah,
thank you for that. Yeah, I truly believe in what we're saying to the young children. They remember. Like I said, I still today laugh covering my mouth, and I'm in my 40s. So what we say to them, when we're saying to the boys, you're too soft. Like, no, they're allowed to have both. Like, they're allowed to be they're allowed to, yes. So they're allowed to have that, but sometimes we pump into them, you have to be strong, and men don't cry, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's important, we can't be doing that. Or you fall for, there's so many things we just say to our children in jest that they remember for a lifetime. And it has an impact psychologically. So there's something I definitely want to bring to the table to bring awareness to that. Yeah.
Any other question? Yes, would you like to come forward?
It's not a question, it's to endorse what you were saying about fathers being involved in their children's roles. My parents divorced, when I was around 14. There were three of us. And, we heard all the negativities about my father. But he went to live in America, and he really fought to see his children. And how he did that was writing letters, phone calls, every 3-5 years come and visit us. And I would say that we are 3 rounded adults today because of my father's input in our lives. So, and that was somebody that went to live in America. Yeah. So really endorse what you're saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Wow. It's all about fatherhood, isn't it? Fatherhood. You see, it's important for us to talk about this because I've always said the father has a crucial part to play in the family as much as the mother. And I always say two always becoming one give a perfect flavor of life. And it's true nowadays, the issue that we have in terms of the knife crime, a lot of people are talking about where are the fathers? We are here. Unfortunately, it's not just our fault. It's also the fact that the government is putting structure into place to make sure men do not have the responsibilities to make sure they give the best to the kids. Because I'm personally, I look after my children. I make sure I'm always there for them, play with them, get to know them. I don't want to go to the school report and the school report will actually tell me that my son is like that. I say, no, that's not true. My son is something else. So I make sure I take the time to not just educate them, but also in terms of history. It's very important because that you've never been to, for instance, you got different places. You got Ghana, you got Nigeria, you got Liberia, you got Sierra Leone. But the most important thing is that you know your history. It's very important. You sit down with your children and say, look, this is what is happening. The school will give them a template, but you will give them the pathway of success because everything starts at home. And I want to speak to the men out there. Yes, some of the men who do not have have access to see the children because the mother is making sure that they don't get the same because you got bitterness out there. You have to talk about it because you got also mothers are really bitter. But you have to let go of that bitterness because some of our young children are being killed on the street by the same race. And the government is not doing anything about it because they don't care. And in fact, it benefits them. But we are the one crying. So the solution is not for us to look at the government. We have to look up to us. And by looking up to us is unity. And one of the things that I have to touch, people
I met my boyfriend there, and over time he became my husband, and is my son's dad. My son is now 17, and my son now, if you even try to say something to him about his dad, it's like he don't know because the immigration keep turning him down every time. The first time I applied, they said that he got married to me because he wanted to come to the UK. I said, then what about my child that he needs to come and look after? They said that I'm not earning enough money to can bring him over. I don't know if he was here. My son is 17 and fatherless. Not because he is dead, or not because, but because of the immigration. What is it that the system needs to do about these situations?
In that circumstance, I'm not knowledgeable on the immigration laws in that, but what I would suggest is other male figures that you have around the family, who could potentially give him that male guidance. I know his father may not be in his country, but when he goes to visit him, or have that. But is there other positive male more role models around you, uncles, cousins, who that he can get that access from a positive male role?
Yeah. And I want to pick up on that point as well, because at the last Solution Oriented Summit, we, this show which is called Uncle. Yeah? Men from Uncle. And why I call it Men from Uncle is that children normally call adults uncle or aunt or so. Coming from Jamaica, any adult you see, you say uncle. Now, a lot of mothers out there without a father, any children without their father. And I started to think to myself, would it be great if there is an organization or men come together as men who can actually go into homes where there's fatherless children? Now, of course, those men has got to be vetted. Now, I'm sure there are organizations maybe out there, but I've not seen anything very strategic along that particular line, whereby you have a son. I know a lady, the father passed away, and she wanted me to get to meet her son. I've spoken to him a couple of times, right? The last time Stephen Akinsanya, the barrister, when we had our first Solution-Oriented Summit, a mother was there, and she said to him, can you come and meet my son? Because he was almost being groomed along this county lines thing, right? So therefore, they have situations whereby these boys don't have male figures around. Now, a mother, I'm not saying she's not able to bring up that child very strong and sturdy, because you got homes where you got mother and father together, and yet at the same time, the home is still broken, right? But I believe it's very important that men now, as Charles Kieran said earlier, a man must be a man. There's a man in Jamaica, a pastor by the name of, I forget his name, and he said, a man, my name now change. Right? A man, my name now change. Pastor Al Miller. Yes, Reverend Al Miller in Jamaica. A man, my name now change. So it's very important for men to have the answers to their home, to have the answers to the nation, to have the answers for their community. When that burglar got killed in my street by the homeowner, I don't know if you saw it in the papers over here. It was on my street there. I was a neighborhood watch coordinator. I was supposed to talk tonight about neighborhood watch and the importance of neighborhood watch as a way of actually a solution. I said a man's home is his castle and his neighborhood is his domain or his kingdom. I mean to say you've got to take control of where you are as a man. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole political correct thing, because that's what is messing up the world. Everybody's trying to be nice and trying to be petty and trying to fix it. But a man, my name not change. A man has got to be strong and got to be forceful. This gentleman I met, I'm a lawyer. I work with child. I'm a social advocate. I do child care proceedings. Colin Nolte, who's a very quiet guy, he's a team leader, team manager, where I go to court with sometimes. I met him when we were removing children or whatever, you know, from parents or whatever like that. So a lot of men like Colin are out there actually at this present moment organizing contact at his contact center with black fathers, right? So there are lots of men out there doing things, but we need to pull them together and creating this something called maybe men for uncle, men that can actually be standing in the gap, and men can actually go there, and men can actually go into homes once they're vetted, yeah, and to somehow be that father figure for your child and other children who are
as a people, because this knife crime, I'm telling you, is gonna be bigger if we're not careful, because the government is not really putting any action, but the type of action they're doing.
And the 70th anniversary of the Windrush generation. My relationship with Jamaica started in 1995. I was a former Peace Corps volunteer. I lived in Kingston, Jamaica, and I fell in love with the communities that I was being a part of. And when I finished Peace Corps and I came back, I took a role with the University of San Diego, and I've been blessed to be able to bring university students back to Jamaica, not to serve, not to fix Jamaica, but to actually connect with Jamaica and hopefully fall in love with it the same way that I did. Because I think that's the sustainable way to engage with communities, the sustainable way to have our students feel like they can connect, because there's a boundary and a difference between communities. Whether you're white or black, there's an opportunity for people to feel united and joined if they have an intention and a purpose around connecting with one another, not of solving a problem or fixing a deficit. Those things are wonderful. We do our best to meet needs in communities, but our main purpose is a connection between our students and a connection to the communities in Jamaica, and an opportunity to show that there's lots for our students to learn in Jamaica. We can learn a lot about community. I know we're talking about you know, some of the violence that happens in communities, but one of the things that I love about Jamaica is there is a sense of community there. There's something that we don't have in the States. The ability for a child to be at a neighbor's house during dinner time, and that child is going to get fed. That doesn't happen where I'm from. And so, like, to also celebrate what you do have, because I think that there is a wonderful piece of culture and character and dignity in what's there. And I think oftentimes it's good for us to examine our problems, our issues in our own communities as black people. But when it's the only thing that you see in the news and the media is violence and this, you know.
Saying the black community is not united. I stopped saying we're too divided. I stopped saying those words. I said it to Stefan the other day. I said, I'm not going to say this anymore. And I tell you why. Because I believe if we focus more upon the strengths and where we're united and where we're strong, you'll be surprised. Because I started to do a little check, and I said, the Irish, the Welsh, the Scots, and the English, they don't get along that well. But yet at the same time, nobody say they are not together. You know?
Absolutely.
The Pakistan and India were split. Together in a collective way. So I believe, like today, Mr. Loggins, you see right here, everybody united as one under the umbrella of the Jamaican culture. Come on, isn't that united?
Absolutely. And I think it's a beautiful thing to see, and one of the things that we love to bring our students to be a part of. Yeah. I think they hear that narrative often about what the black community is, or what a community in a developing country is, and they have this perception of it being just deficit based. When you think about all the assets, all the beauty of those things, and give our students an opportunity to actually experience those things, it changes the narrative, not just for our own community, it changes the narrative and the stories that they've been telling themselves. And then they can start looking at some of the issues that they have in their own, in their own lives. There are issues that we have in our own countries that are very similar, because you can't point a finger without three pointing back at you. So if you're looking at deficits, where do those deficits live in your own communities, in your own societies, in our own country?
Yes. And finally, as you know, the Solution-Oriented Summit is talking about the knife and the gun crime issues. In San Diego, what is it like? Is there any ideas or work which has been done that you can share here?
I came a little bit late, so I didn't hear all of the ideals that were presented.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, I think every ideal, every thought, every bit of curiosity, and every bit of intention that we put into solving a problem is worth spent, even if it doesn't work out. In San Diego, or in California in general, or in the States in general, there is, a gun epidemic, particularly in our inner cities. I think a lot of that does have to do with some other societal ills too. I'm not trying to lay it all at the feet of the systemic issues, but poverty goes hand in hand with crime. If you put a child in a situation where the only way of getting food is with a gun or through drug sales, those things are going to happen. But I think one of the things that we've been talking a lot about is, how do we not just change our culture, but change the American culture in general. We have lots of conversations around toxic masculinity, yes, being a part of the conversation. So it's good to be a strong man, but it's also good to be a man that's capable of being vulnerable, yes, and showing love when necessary. And I think in our society, for a long time, yes, those things were considered weak. And it's not saying that you have to only be vulnerable. Yes. You can show a lot of strength, but to give our kids the access to have both is a very important piece.
That's awesome. Well, listen, enjoy your time in the UK.
Thank you very much.
And with Reverend Ezekiel Thompson, are you guys going to be riding the bicycle around London?
Oh, I hope so. I ride my bike around everywhere, and I'm looking forward to riding with Reverend Thompson. He's been a great asset to us, yes, in this community. We are very blessed to know him. We're very blessed to be as connected as we can, so hopefully we can stay tethered, sure, and connected with you all.
Maybe I'll see you in San Diego.
Yes, yes. And I have a colleague whose whole work is around addressing these issues.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Logan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, Mr. Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, she just run past you. She's gone. Okay, right. She's gone. Okay. So I want to thank you so much. Stefan, if you have any last word.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask you a question. Yes. What have you learned today so far? Have you learned to revive ourselves, to get as much information we can get, and go home and think about it? Because you know what? At the end of the day, it's not just my life; it's also your life. I'm not saying anything can happen to you, because you have to understand this: our youth are not safe out there. Anything can happen. So we touched on parenting today. We touched on, in terms of the court awareness. But the thing we didn't touch on was the mental awareness that we didn't talk about today. That is one of the biggest issues in the black communities. Mental issues. And we have to talk about it. It's a bit of a stigma. People don't like to talk about it. But unfortunately, we've got people going through a lot of trauma. And that's been one of the major issues in our communities. So we would like to say thank you for coming in, and we're going to shut down the video live. After that, I would like to hear from you. You're not going to be on live anymore. So, yeah, if you got any questions, please, anything you want to add, please, free yourself to talk. You want to ask, what do you want to ask?
How many people here can name 10 black people before slavery?
Not 10, no, 5. Okay. Yeah. 5. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Did you guys hear that? Is it possible to answer that kind of question? Yeah. You see that? You see that? Do you see that? Do you see that? Because I went through research the other day, and what I've noticed is that black people, our history has been paused since the 15th century. I don't know if you know about it. from the 15th century up to now, let's say up to the next, let's say 1900, our history has been posed. The only history we know is the biblical one. Do you know about that? No. You know what? We're going to leave it out there. I'm going to let you guys go enjoy the sun. If you got anything to say, any questions, we're here. And I mean, thank you for coming, and may God bless you.